H-Town, what it do? My name is Nick Stevenson.
And I'm Scara.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Twin Toros. Still early. Welcome to episode 14 of Texans Bloodline. Scara, the Houston Texans have won 7 games in a row, and we should be really excited about that. As of today, they have a 99% chance of making the playoffs if they win on Sunday or Saturday now. Sorry, they moved the Chargers game to Saturday. A 94% chance if they lose. So, more than likely they're going to be in the playoffs. And I think that's what's frustrating me about this. We've talked about it in the course of doing this show. There can be disappointing wins.
Mm-hmm.
And to me,
they took the week off.
To me, I think it's okay to say that this is one of them. It's a little bit different though. Scara, I feel like maybe we were disappointed that the defense gave up 20 points versus the Cardinals, but the offense was awesome. What disappointed me about this game is we saw a regression to what we saw earlier in the season, and that's the offense being so bad that it put the defense in bad positions to where the defense had to be perfect and just a couple of big plays. Yeah, a couple of big plays. And I mean, the Texans haven't given up more than 20 points in a long time, and they gave up 20 points to a 2-win Raiders team. The Raiders the week before against the Eagles put up a goose egg. They scored 0 points in that game. So I think it's fair for Texans fans to be a little bit like, I don't know.
Yeah. And we talked about it last week that we didn't want them to get, too cocky about going into this game with a team that they knew didn't have a great record. And I that's kind of how I felt, right?
Yeah.
Is they're like,
Yeah, I didn't get the feeling that they were playing with their food. That's kind of what I compare it to when.
Gotcha.
I didn't get that feeling. I mean, okay, they just weren't good. CJ Stroud in the first quarter at one point was 1 for 6 when he wasn't pressured. That means he had time. He's back there, and he just missed wide open dudes again. And okay, when he came back from the concussion, we were like, okay, he's got to knock that rust off. But he's been back now for 4 games. A couple of them he's looked really good in. I don't know what happened yesterday. And maybe you're right. Maybe, I feel like these guys are professionals. They should understand on any given Sunday, any team can be beaten. And that's why, it's not really the fact that they played a close game against the Raiders that bothers me, because the Raiders are a professional team. They were probably embarrassed by the fact that they scored 0 points in their previous game. So I'm sure they came in, with a lot of effort, and they probably watched a lot of film, and they have talented players. Ashton Junty, their running back, is, they drafted him, I think, number 4 overall. And for a running back these days, running backs usually don't go that high, but they believe he's that good. And so, I don't know. It scares me. It could be, we overreact to everything in football or in sports, period. But it just scares me because if you get that type of effort against the Chargers, you're going to lose. And yes, you can afford to lose that game, still make the playoffs. I mean, the Colts, that's our last game, and they're hanging on by a thread. And I give them a lot of credit. They've got a 44-year-old quarterback out there. He looks like me out there. His pants don't fit. His guts hanging over his belt, but he's out there slinging it, man, and he's giving them a chance at least. They right now have a 4% chance to make the playoffs, but if they beat Jacksonville, they will move to an 11% chance. And even if they lose, they still have a chance because they can beat the Texans on the last game of the season, possibly. And that would get them into the playoffs if the Texans lose to the Chargers as well. So, nothing is written in stone. The Texans are the only team in the AFC South that hasn't clinched. I'm sorry, no, the Colts haven't either. But I don't know. It's just it's a little too close for
It's
comfort.
too
But
close, yeah. Mhm.
but
And I get what you're saying about, like, it didn't look like they were playing with their food, but I feel like we all have the same psyche, right?
mhm,
And if our psyche is subconsciously telling us, we've got this," then you're
yeah,
not gonna have your best game, and, I mean, I don't know if that's what happened or they just all had a bad day at once.
yeah.
Uh,
I could, or it could, two things can be true at the same time, right?
correct.
I feel like you are right. I think naturally when you see, hey, we're going up against a 2-win team this week and an 11-win team the following week, it's probably it's hard not to look ahead and think to
Mhm.
yourself like, hey, if we handle business here, and sometimes you're not paying attention to the problem you have right in front of you, and then it can come back to bite you. And it almost did. The Houston Texans only won by 2 points, 21-23. Um,
And they were behind it at one point.
yeah,
Right.
we were talking right before we started. Like, I don't know who to highlight on the Texans. CJ Stroud had a couple of really good moments in the fourth quarter. The throw he made to Nico Collins to ice the game was a beautiful throw. Like, one of those throws that CJ makes sometimes, and you're like, why don't you do that all the time?
Mhm. Mhm.
He had a couple of those. He did, I'll give him credit for this. He threw 65%. Most of that was because of what he did in the second half. He did have one touchdown, no interceptions. Once again, he has not thrown an interception since his first game back from the concussion. So we'll give him credit for those. Um, Only 187 yards though. And like I said, and that's okay when you're playing the Raiders, but the Texans, I guess what bothers me is we're 2 weeks left in the season and this offense still hasn't found an identity. And I want to be fair, Woody Marks was not there. Um, and they've had some key players out on offense and defense the last couple of weeks. But I mean, we're coming down the stretch here. That's going to happen. Um,
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I don't want to be like hitting the panic button or anything. But as a Houston Texans fan who's kind of been here, I watched some of these other teams and the way they've played, and they all, for the most part, definitely the teams that have clinched, they have an identity at least. Like, I mean, the Texans, they have a defensive identity, but some of these other teams, hey, this is a running team. They run the ball really well. They run so they can set up their passes, or they pass the ball to open up lanes for the run. I don't know what the strategy is on offense for the Tech. It's just kind of like, hey, whatever works that day, I guess. And that's all
Yeah.
well and good, but how do you prepare for that? I don't know.
Mhm.
How'd you
Yeah,
feel?
yeah, I mean, well, right, that I agree, like, we shouldn't, at this point, not have confidence in the offense, right? And just know, like you said, the identity. I always call it clicking, right?
Hmm.
It didn't click. It didn't, come together and feel like cohesive unit, and that's not what we want this late,
Yeah.
and we can't get too, like you said, I can't remember what term you used. We can't just, like, rely on the fact that we've got this. Even if we're at
Right.
99%, there's a 1% there,
Hmm.
and it relies on so many different factors that are out of Texans' control, so they need to control what they can, and that's the games they're playing.
This is what's so nuts about the NFL. The Texans could actually have the number one spot in the playoffs still, or they could completely miss the playoffs,
That's
like
so
with
crazy.
2 games left. That's how close everything is and how thin the margins are. And that's why at this point in the season, you would like to see your favorite team kind of
Put
have this stuff figured out, right?
Well, we would have liked to see that, I don't know how many weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. And
They got it together right before Stroud went back out.
the Houston media has kind of been gained a reputation of being kind of soft because, and I don't know if that's fair, because like there's members of the media in New York and Boston and Philadelphia who are just straight up assholes, and like,
Mm.
we're nice down here in the South. We have we're not gonna say mean things just for the sake of saying mean things and, being on the headlines.
So you're saying soft as in, like, not, um, like, obliterating the team and
Right.
players and stuff like that?
And
Well
sometimes that they it's considered that they throw softball questions, like they don't ask the hard-hitting questions
ah,
to
okay,
the coaches or to the players after the game. And
interesting.
I think that reputation is somewhat fair. There are a couple of YouTube personalities who used to work in radio, one of them being Landry Locker. Um, I feel like he asks some hard questions sometimes. But when CJ was asked about, you know, what he's going to say what he's supposed to say. Like he's
Mhm.
not supposed to say, "Oh, I'm a terrible quarterback and you guys should probably put Davis Mills in." Like he's not going to say that. He's going to downplay it and he's going to, but he's been saying all season, and like I said, to be fair, he's a professional. I'm not going to call it a bad game. It was bad early. He was able to salvage it. He played just well enough. But it's
How old is
just
he?
23,
Yeah, so, I mean, his brain is barely just fully developed.
right? And it's
Uh,
taken 2 concussions while it was developing. So,
mm, I
um
don't know that soft is, like, I mean, what's the benefit of asking the hard-hitting questions publicly, especially when okay, if they're asking them directly, maybe it's to get them thinking, cool,
mhm,
but I can't imagine the professional coaches who are paid, bukus of money aren't getting them to think about those questions, and
100%.
otherwise they're not I hope, they're not listening to media,
Right.
along the way.
No, you
So
you hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly, if you recall when the Texans were losing, what D'Amico Ryan said, like, "We don't pay attention to what the media says." The media usually thrives off of negativity. That's when they had that whole argument. It was actually Landry Locker who was arguing with him. He said, "You don't think we ever cover anything positive?" And D'Amico's like, "That's not what I said. What I said is people thrive on the negative, so we can't pay attention to that."
mhm.
And he was right. And there was a whole big to do made of that. And to me, I thought it was a whole bunch of nothing because D'Amico isn't supposed to listen to the media. Like I said, there's no way he turns on Texans Bloodline and is like, Scara said that CJ Stroud needs to get rid of the ball quicker. I'm going to tell him that because, like, you think he hasn't told him that already?
Right.
So
But maybe
it's
he should have. I mean,
maybe he should have. I'm pretty sure he did.
I know, I'm sure.
Sometimes you're a teacher. You can tell your students how many times, or you were a teacher, excuse me. You can tell your students
Maybe
how
they
many
should
times.
have maybe they should have a media relations person who does go through all the media,
Mhm.
and like you said, the thing about teaching, especially like in theater, we'd give them directions, and it's a whole thing that we as their director can tell them the same thing a million times. They go and one other person tells them the exact same thing, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, we should do that."
And it totally makes sense all of a sudden.
So they should have a media relation person named Nick who watches all the media and
Right,
then
right.
sends them clips of other people saying the same things.
For sure. For sure. In all seriousness though, like there's not a single thing that we see that I don't think this coaching staff sees. If they
Well,
don't,
yeah.
there's a problem, right?
Mhm.
um and so when I think the coaching staff knows that the offense was not good. I think the coaching staff knows, hey, we're really deep into the season. For the offense to be looking this way is probably not good. But what I will say, and D'Amico Ryans brought this up, he did an interview with Rich Eisen on NFL Network. He said, "I'm always, because he asked him about, hey man, when you're down 29-10 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're already three. I think what were they, 3-5 at the time, or 3-6. He's like, how do you stay positive and make your team believe that it's still okay, like you can come back and win this, that the season's not over?" And he just talked about, he's just like, I'm an optimistic guy, I'm a positive reinforcement guy, that's just who I am, it's my personality. And so I think when we fans are feeling like, oh, the house is burning down, for some people I think it would make them feel good to see D'Amico Ryans losing his shit on the podium. but that's just not his style. And if I ever saw him do that, that would worry me more than anything because I'm like, here's this calm, composed, positive reinforcement guy up there cursing out his team or cursing out the media. Like, then something's wrong. Like he
Right.
says the right things, but sometimes the right things piss you off, right? When you want him to be as mad as you are. But
But what and it's, something I've told my children, right? What does anger like, how does that benefit you,
mhm,
right, at this time?
yeah,
Like, getting mad at a mic, like, w is that gonna help his players play better? No.
yeah.
So, how is
No,
that helpful, to be that person? And I don't know,
yeah.
I remember there was one game, I don't remember which game, but there was one coach that was, like, very clearly the other team's coach was very clearly getting mad and frustrated and, little
Mhm.
baby tantrums on the side of the field, and if I looked over and saw my coach doing that, I would just feel like I've already disappointed them
Right,
versus looking at, D'Amico and seeing like, "Oh, he still thinks I can do this."
right.
Right? So that is yeah.
And you know this as a teacher, you have to be aware of what motivates your student, and the
Mhm.
coaches have to be aware of what does motivate their players. Maybe there is a player that getting chewed out a little bit does motivate them, but even if D'Amico Ryans does that, that's not going to seem genuine because that's just not his style. So what's he going to do? He's probably going to send Matt Burke, "Hey, go yell at this guy," and then Matt Burke, who is a little bit more of a fiery personality, when he does it, maybe it registers, and that's just the
Mhm.
nuances and the difficulty of. I mean, there's 53 players on this team, and that's not counting the
Yeah.
people on the practice squad. I mean, so many different personalities. For me, I think a lot of fans draw on the fact that, they probably played high school football. And when you're a kid and an adult yells at you, it makes you do the stuff you're supposed to do, right? At least in theory.
In theory.
But these are grown men. They make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to play this game. You know, kicking over the Gatorade cooler and, throwing a chair is not going to do anything to motivate them. If staying in this league that is taking care of them and their families in a way that only 1% of the population can be taken care of isn't enough motivation for them at this point, then
There is
they
none.
probably shouldn't be here. Right.
Right.
100%. Um,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons, Deion Sanders, he's the coach of the Colorado Buffalo men's football team, was a probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest football player of all time, played cornerback. His son is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns now, but he's been such a good college coach that people have asked him, "Hey, would you ever come to the pros?" And he said, "Absolutely not." He's like, "There's no way in the world I can fathom and deal with somebody making millions of dollars and won't do their job." He's like,
Hmm.
"And I see it in the NFL all the time, so I'm just not going to do it." And so they're out there, but he knows that if I can yell at a kid in college or maybe in high school, college, whatever, maybe motivate them a little bit. But this guy who's making millions of dollars, you can't do anything to motivate him. If keeping that money is not enough motivation, like we said, then nothing that he says is going to motivate him. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that after the game speech, not when the cameras are on, but when it's just D'Amico and his team, I'm sure he's telling them the things they need to know,
Yeah.
things they need to improve on. But he's just not gonna in the public. He's always gonna keep a united front, and I like that about him. I think that shows a lot of maturity on his part, and
And the
that's just
integrity of the team and I mean,
yeah,
I also feel like Houston is so big and so small at the same time that, the soft media, right? It's like a community sport versus
yeah,
maybe they're more disconnected in New York.
yeah. I mean, I've been to New York.
It feels
They're
like
just
everyone's for
this is
themselves.
what I will say. Because of the reputation that New York had, I actually thought people were going to be more rude. I met some rude people. Don't get me wrong. Like, do not be crossing the street at a point where a car thinks that they should be like, just don't do it. Um, but yeah, I think that's just kind of like their reputation is like, hey, we're tough, but like at the same time, it just kind of seems disingenuous. If you're doing it for the sake
Mhm.
of having the headline, "Oh, look at me, I asked the hard question,"
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even a good question. It's just obviously you're asking this because you're, I don't know, at this day and age trying to go viral or whatever. Just a little bit of background for the game coming up against the Chargers. The Texans played the Chargers in the playoffs last season in the the wild card round. They hosted the Chargers. The Chargers were favored in that game because the Chargers had a better record than them regular season wise. And the Texans kicked their ass. Wasn't even close. I think they intercepted Justin Herbert 5 times in that game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. And so I'm pretty sure the Chargers have that in the back of their minds. They can't end the Texans season, but they can make things uncomfortable for them. They're playing in Los Angeles this time, so that's one of an advantage on their end. I honestly don't know what to expect from this game though, because the Texans are unpredictable. You know, I thought they would. I thought they'd blow out the Raiders, and they did not. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and score 28 points and win by double digits. It wouldn't
So what I'm
surprise
hearing
me.
you say is the Chargers know that they need to bring their A game,
And
and
hopefully
the
the Texans.
Texans need to not be comfortable in how they played the last time against this team.
Right, right. And I think hopefully just feel, I feel like I have a good thumb on the pulse of the way that D'Amico Ryans prepares his teams. Like I think they understand what we all understand. They're and like I said, in front of us, they're gonna keep it calm. But I think they understand like that wasn't a good performance. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out and play really well. I also wouldn't be surprised to see them lose the game because the Chargers are a good team and they're at home. And you know the Texans offense is still trying to figure out what they're going to be. We'll see if Woody Marks is back. I think that'll help. We'll see if Aziz Al-Shaair gets back out there. He was injured for this Raiders game. And I mean, to me, if you lose, you're not out of the playoffs. So anybody who's got some lingering injuries, like I don't want you to come out and hurt yourself and be done for the year. So that's kind of tricky. Like I want you to win this game, but you don't have to win this game. The game you really have to win is against the Colts. The last game of the season, and you have a better chance of beating them. But once again, we've been talking about it. You don't want to play with your food either, because
right?
Just because the Colts are the Colts doesn't mean the Colts can't beat you. So, here's the beautiful thing: we have meaningful football for the last 2 games of the season. I don't think anybody's going to be sitting their players
right
next week or the week after, because it's all important. And hey, like I've been saying, when the Texans were 0-3, it didn't look like that was going to be the case. And
no, yeah, it did not. We did not think we'd be here
for sure. So I'm happy that we're here. I need that 99% to be 100 though. That's when I'll be able to relax. Once they're in, then I'll be able to relax. And that's what's crazy. Like they could, if the Colts beat the Jaguars and the Texans win, I think that can move them all the way up to like the 5. No, they'd be the 3 seed at that point, which is nuts.
out of 7, right?
Yes, they'd go from 7 to 3 and be hosting a home game in the first round of the playoffs if they were able to finish the season there. So
it sounds like no team has a specific seat at this point.
I think right now the only one that is secure. No, nothing is actually set right now.
Interesting.
All really, really close. Yeah, that starts because the Texans could still get the 1. They could get the 1, the 3, the 5, the 6, or the 7.
We'll take any one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they could finish anywhere at this point.
No, I meant like we can. I don't care which one they take. Just take one of those.
Just get in, and then let the defense please be healthy, and let the offense score just enough points. And I'm not really scared of any of these teams though. The Jaguars, I'm going to give them credit. I talk a lot of trash to their fans in the AFC South Warzone Facebook group, but they're playing well. They're playing really well. It's
But you
just for
weren't worried about Raiders either.
no, I really wasn't. And I mean, they beat the Raiders. Like at no point in that game did I feel like the Texans are going to lose. I just didn't like the way that they like even when they were
Okay.
behind, I was like they're going to win this game. But I don't like that it feels like this is too close. I don't like
Yeah.
this. And I know the Texans can beat anyone, and it's just about what Texans team are we going to get that day? And is the defense, that's the part that's worried me a little bit. I think these are two underrated injuries before we'll close up here in a minute. Two very underrated injuries to the defense is Tim Settle Jr. and Mario Edwards Jr. So we know we have those two beasts on the outside of the defensive line. You got, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. But on the inside, the Texans were really deep with lots of talent. You had Danico Autry, Tommy Togiai, who have both played really well. Mario Edwards Jr. and Tim Settle Jr. are really, I guess, what you would consider their starting caliber, like their best two defensive linemen, and both of them are out for the season now. And in the last two games, you've seen a little bit of, they've given up 20,
Wobbly.
21. Yeah, it's just, and those guys are really responsible for stopping runs up the middle. And we saw Ashton Junti get pretty much anything he wanted up the middle. And Carter in the game against the Cardinals was getting, it's just one of those things I'm kind of keeping my eye on. Not hitting the panic button, but, and like I said, Azeez was also out. The reason Azeez is big is because the middle linebacker is basically the quarterback of the defense.
Okay.
So when he's not, basically EJ Speed was playing backup quarterback. So if you want to see it that way, the Texans defense was playing with their backup quarterback, which, it's not going to be as good as when your main
not
guy.
Going to be the number one defense.
Right.
Without all the defense.
100%. Now, and EJ Speed played really well. I want to give him credit. He's really surprised me, but it's your backup. So,
yeah.
But the Houston Texans ultimately, we have to knock on wood because they haven't solidified it yet, but they're in a good spot. And they're in a place where they control their own destiny. They don't need any help from anyone else. And that's really all you can ask for. If I go out and win, I get in. So go out and win and get in.
Yeah.
But even if they win this game, unfortunately, that only brings them to 99%.
It stays, yeah.
Because they're currently 96. If they win, 99%, which close but no cigar. If they lose, it's 94%. So
okay. It's still high, but
man, I'm just go ahead and win the game. Win the game, and hopefully somebody else loses that you need to lose to get in.
Right. Oh, excuse me.
And then
it's a little early.
I understand. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. I really enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want to remind you, if you're watching on Houston Sports State of the Union, please hit that subscribe button and put Texans Bloodline on your favorites playlist. You can follow me at Houston Sports State of the Union. I will leave a link in the description that has all of my socials and links to all of my content. And you can follow Scara at Bad Teacher Tales on TikTok and YouTube. Really quick, Scara, let them know what Bad Teacher Tales is all about.
Bad Teacher Tales is a fun podcast where we share the good, the bad, and the what the hell of daily teacher life. I collect educator stories and tell them anonymously, as well as just, sometimes we do some subject matter episodes discussing things that we've seen or experienced.
Excellent listen. Excellent watch now. So proud of you for getting that started back up. Guys,
Thank you.
If you think Scara is good on this show, you ain't seen nothing yet. Go check her out at Bad Teacher Tales, once again, on TikTok and on YouTube. I'll put her links in the description as well. Scara, Saturday game, keep that in mind. We'll figure out how we're going to make our adjustment on the Texans Bloodline front, but I hope we'll be talking about a Houston Texans win with a 99% chance of making the playoffs. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we get out of here?
Just, if you celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the good things. Hope you get what you want.
Absolutely, 100%. Matter of fact, we'll put this show out. We'll put this show out today. There's no reason not to put it out today. But you guys do have a very, very Merry Christmas. And we will see you guys next week. In the meantime, stay 10 toes down for the H. We love you and good night.
Bye.